Welcome back to a new tutorial on how to create Venom part 6. Today we're gonna just refine everything and really get the anatomy to a really nice state where it's really easily to like render it out and making it look really beautiful. And yeah, so why not just begin? But right before you begin, I just need to tell you you can use any software like Blender, Zbrush, Mudbox. Doesn't matter because this is all about the technical. This is all about the technical stuff. No, it's not. This is all about the fundamentals of sculpting, and it has nothing to do with the technical stuffs. So you can follow along with whatever software you want to use. So feel free to follow along, and let's get right into it. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, so I think this episode is gonna be pretty slow because there ain't so much more left to do, but it's just these small things that can be improved. Yeah, I'm just adding. See, I have a very low intensity on my brush and just adding a little subtle bit of volumes. So the volumes keeps adding up and keeps building up, and it needs to look really good, but don't overdo it. You need to find that sweet spot, so not overdone or underdone. I don't think it's called underdone, so I don't know why I said that, but at least just think about it needs to have balance, because otherwise the sculpture is gonna look like too simple or like too complicated in a very bad way, and that's not gonna look very pretty. So have more details in some areas and less detail in other areas. You probably want people to look at the head, and in my case I really work a long time on the arms and the legs, so I really want people to look on those areas most. So I'm adding more contrast in those areas and then less contrast in the rest of the body, just because I want people to look at one single point. Okay, now we're adding a little bit more volume. You can see I'm just very slowly just adding volume. It's not. It's just very tiny bit I'm gonna change in this video. It just takes a long time, but it's make a little bit of a difference to make it just a little bit better, and it's just usually worth it. So I'm gonna do it. So and you see here I'm just adding some like very light texturing on the underside of his neck. And now I'm gonna fix the trapezius muscle right here, make it look a little bit nicer, because it looks a little bit weird in my opinion. So I'm just gonna take some reference and really like fix it, make it look a lot better. Yeah, you see I'm just following the shapes. It's really that simple. Just when I look up something, I either go the opposite way of the shape. If I want it round and nice, and if I want it a little bit more sharp, I just follow the shapes, because that's really easy to do. Anybody can do that. So yeah, and you see the anatomy is really starting to get some basic structure on the back, but it's not really looking that good. So I know that I'm gonna change the entire back. Maybe even started creating some changes to the back right here. I'm not really sure. I'm just gonna... Okay, so I'm just adding very slightly volume, and I should have added way more volume in the back way earlier. So the back here, I don't like it right now. It looks fine in the end, but right now it looks like a disaster. So I don't like even try to take some references and really get some anatomical back studies of your own, so you really can create good and really real looking backs. Because it's a... Sorry, I'm tired. A really important part. Okay, what's happening right now? Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, I'm just keeping to add some volume. It's not super interesting to watch, I know that, guys, but if you want this like very fine refinement, this is how you do it. Just take it a little bit at a time. I know it's boring, so... And now I'm adding the scapula, really making that really clearly, and the clavicle bones, and they kind of like connect, so it's really important that you get that curvature between those two shapes. The back is starting to look a little bit more like strong out now, right now, but it doesn't look even nearly strong enough. Yeah, so just keep adding volume and really refine every single part. Because when you have refined every single part, then you can go to fun stuff. You can like start with detail. In the next episode, we're gonna start with the teeth. We're gonna start creating teeth and eyes and all this kind of really fun stuff. But I kinda like to wait with that towards not the end, but I'm usually taking my sculptures a bit further down the road, and I'm gonna show you guys with this tutorial. So I'm adding the teeth like in the middle of the process and all this kind of stuff. Eyes I usually add a lot sooner, but it's Venom, so it doesn't really have normal eyes, so I didn't feel like it was needed. Yeah, but sculpture is starting to look really good. As you see, and like I'm just working. I want to make the head seem more visible, so in the end I know I'm making the head like a curve for the head to go upwards a little bit, so you can clearly see the definition where the neck ends and the head starts. Or skull, I should say. I'm just using the flat brush and just making some planes. Yeah, I'm just trying to fix the jawline a little bit. Very subtle changes. But they do make a very big difference in the end. It might not look like it when you are in Zbrush, but the lightning and how the light hits the muscles and all that stuff. It really makes a difference. And I said this in the last video, but if you guys would like, if you guys are like following along and want some critique on this kind of your own work, on your own work that you have done, like if you did your own Venom after my tutorial, please send me like photos or 3D file on 3D files on your stuff, so I can help you critique them. I will be very happy to help you guys with that. So just send me a message and we can see if we can create a YouTube video on your pieces, guys. You see, the entire sculpture starts to come together. Yeah, I'm just changing the fingers because I feel like they are a little bit like spaghetti fingers right now, so I'm just wanting to change them to make them a little bit more straightening them up a little bit and making them more like refined as fingers. And it's really important. I don't know if anybody can see this on the screen right now here, but my finger here, for example, here it's thickest, a little bit thinner, and then it going like a triangle down here. Yes, you have a little bit extra sticking out here, but not much, not as much as you think. So be really sure to like make it very subtle and make it more like a triangular shape. Now we're just adding some basic volume to the feet and to the legs. I'm sorry guys, I'm really tired. I'm just gonna keep work on this guy and make, yeah. And don't be discouraged if your sculpt takes a little bit longer than my tutorial series, because this is really hard to create characters like this, I know that. So take your time and I can help you critique them, as I said before. And critique is all about learning to get to the next level. It's not about saying a lot of bad stuff about somebody's art. No. It's about helping each other to reach the next level so we can learn together. It's really nice. And you should never be discouraged from critique. It's really good and you'll learn so much from it. So don't, I know it can be really hard to take critique, but like for me, a couple maximum an hour later, I feel like, oh, they were right, and then I'm just gonna go into my sculpture and change those changes. It's gonna look way better. Just adding some volumes to the torso. Really look up the anatomy on the torso if you really wanna. I can create a video on how to sculpt the torso and stuff like that, because it's really complicated. You think it's like easy, but it's not. It's not. Let me tell you guys, it's not easy. And I think it's really hard to sculpt hands and feet. They're kind of like impossible to sculpt. I don't know why I think that, but I just feel like that because they take so long time for me to create. Yeah. Keeping to add and making more shapes on the feet and just creating a bigger contrast. But I know that the feet aren't going to be showing that much in the end because they are like they are on the ground and they're gonna be very, very dark towards the ground, like a lot of shadows and stuff like that. So don't add too much detail where it ain't gonna show, because that's just a waste of time, and you don't want to waste your time when you're doing art, right? So yeah, I'm trying to plan out before. I'm usually doing a lot of like test renders to just see how the light hits the character and how I want the lighting to be, so I know where I need to add more detail and where I can like keep a little bit more loosely and get away with it. Here I'm just refining the legs and the butt muscles. It's a very tricky area. I know it ain't gonna be shown that much in the render, but I know that I have a lot of trouble with the area between the butt and the legs, so I said to myself I'm gonna create detail there anyways, just to learn more. And I always recommend that, trying to learn more about areas you don't know so much about. You see, here is the trickiest part for me, just this area. I think I like struggle with this area for like a good amount of time before I finally solved it. And make the pelvis more visible, even through on the back side as well. I hope you guys are enjoying this tutorial series. If you do, please subscribe and like. It will really help me out, and send me like suggestions on what you want me to create next. And on my Instagram you can vote on what kind of sculpture you want me to see to do a tutorial on next. And I want to create what you guys want me to create, so help me out and follow me on Instagram so you can vote on my stuff. Yeah, you see it looks a little bit ridiculous, the butt muscle right now, so I think I'm then changing that a lot of it's gonna be changed in my hair day today. And the lower back there, it's really important that you get that like cavity in there, not cavity but like area. It's really sharp. Yeah, you see like a cavity. But it look like very like it's flexed. It just makes it look more real. I don't know why really, but it looks really more like realistic when you do that. So, and that's what I'm going for, more like this realistic look on most of my sculptures. Here you see I'm just working up the structure, changing some proportions here and there. Just working up one step at a time. It takes a long time, but as I said before, it's when you put it all together, it's really worth it, because you walk in one step, you're climbing up that ladder one step at a time, and it's really cool looking when you get to the top, because then you have added all of this stuff to your one sculpture, and it's gonna look really good. You see the head is needing some more shapes. I think I start to add some more shapes on the head in the next tutorial. Here I wanted to really show the skull. You see here, I wanted to show the skull. Make it clear where the skulls begin and the neck ends. So that's what I am doing right there. Doesn't look really that good from there right now, but it looks way better than it looked before. Because that's a really important bony landmark when he sits in a position like this. So really think about all of those bony landmarks. Yeah, I'm just adding some like landmarks on the head, some human anatomy landmarks. They are really important to add on a character like Venom, because otherwise his face will feel very, very flat. And you might think his head is really, really like round, and it is, but it has a lot of mid-frequency detail. It has a lot of like very subtle shape within that like basic shape of a head. So try to add those shapes and really like take a look at references from like the new Venom movie, and really like, yeah, make sure that you get those shapes in, because they really help the realism so much. You see, I'm just fixing the neck. Yeah, really sculpting up everything and just making it look better and better. Yeah, and here you see I just adding some more anatomical shapes to the neck, some more muscles, just to make it look like so it looks stronger and the neck look more correct. It's really hard with a neck, with a guy that's this like strong. I don't think the neck turned out perfect in any way, shape or form, but it works for the sculpture, and you're not gonna see this neck too much anyways. So it doesn't really matter that much how the neck looks on this sculpture. Yeah, if you guys want me to create some videos on some like anatomical guides or something like that, I would be more than happy to do that. Just comment down below so I know if anybody of you would be interested in something like that. Okay, let's see here now what I'm gonna change, because the legs are starting to look pretty good. The back still look horrible in my opinion. Yes, it really does look horrible, but I know it's gonna be fixed before the end of this tutorial series, so yeah, but it took a lot of work to fix that back. Yeah, and I saw on some references this clear like muscles underneath this big muscle here, that you could see some of the shape of the muscles underneath. So I'm just sculpting that those shapes right into the sculpt. Sure. Stuff like that is really important, because you might think that you know everything, every single muscle, but then it is, oh what? There are muscles underneath the muscles that those muscles I thought was their only muscles. And then there are like a ton of new shapes to learn, and they affect each other, and it's so cool when you start to like play around with it. But it's a real really annoying for your like mind. It's really hard because you don't understand what's going on. And I'm one of these people that really like to sculpt. If it needs to make sense, like anatomically, for me to like go on to the next step. So I really want to understand the anatomy, because that's one of my passions, to just sculpt anatomy. I find it really, really fun. I know a lot of people don't like anatomy at all, but take your time and learn it, because it's most likely gonna become a lot more fun than what you thought it would be. You see, I'm just keep adding some very, very small shapes. Just refining the muscles with the damn standard, making sure that they pop. And if you guys want me to like, if you want to follow along from more like a base on this tutorial series, let me know, and I will make sure that you guys can download a base of this guy and just sculpt the anatomical stuff on top of this guy. If it is the anatomy study you're after. You can really see that the muscles are getting some really nice refinements. But now we're starting with this really, really complicated shape. That connects to the pelvis. Yeah, I'm really tired, guys, sorry. It's gonna be connecting to the pelvis, and it's really important to get that kinda right, so it's a very, very important area, but it's very often overlooked, I would say. Really by beginners, at least. Yeah, but you can kind of see how... Yeah, it doesn't look very good right now, because... It took me some time to figure out how the muscles were connecting to one another, in this case. Yeah, but I'm just starting to block it out here. If you don't know how the muscles sit, try out some different options, and just... You can find an option that you like. So just try and retry till you find something that you like. That's at least how I used to solve the problem, because you can't get everything right at the first try, right? So you really need to focus and make sure that you really need to make sure that you take your time and trying to learn. It's a learning experience as well. We are here to learn, so yeah, you see the muscle isn't looking like correct at all right now. That looks a little bit better, but yeah, it looks really like messed up right now. Yeah, but overall, muscles, yeah, starting to look pretty cool. And see, I'm just took the flatten brush under the feet just to make it like, so you can place it on something. If you want to place it on like, I don't know, you probably don't want to have this pose on the ground, but on a rooftop or something, can make it look really cool. I'm not doing anything of that, but at least not in this tutorial. I might, if I work more on him later, I might post him on my Instagram with on a rooftop or something. On a rooftop, I don't know. It's hard to say. You can see here I'm trying to connect all of the muscles just the right places. And here, I never worked with that with the muscles sitting in this way before, so this was a huge challenge for me. But I love a challenge, so it was really funny. Not funny. It was really fun to like figure it out, and in the end, I think it turned out pretty well. Not perfect, of course, but alright at least. Yeah, and I'm just trying to create all the shapes here. I'm just adding more and more shapes. Here is the pelvis. I'm trying to indicate where I want the key muscles to the connecting point of the from a lot of muscles that connect to that point of the pelvis. So I'm trying to indicate that more clearly so I can visualize in my head how it's gonna look. Yeah, but I think it's starting to look pretty well. All the shapes, it's starting to get there, and yeah, I think it's on the right track at least. Yeah, I'm indicating the pelvis even more just to create this structure, being very like precise with this part, because it's get the pelvis wrong and most of the lower parts of the body is really easily like screwed up if you don't try to fix it. You see how everything, I don't think it's a perfect lower torso maybe, but you don't see it so much with the lighting, all of that stuff, so it's not super important for this sculpture. Sure. But it is important to try to learn some anatomical skills and learn how the muscles connect and all of this stuff. Yeah. Okay, now we're probably gonna solve the problem with this muscle here, so yeah, I'm just finding every single shape. It takes some time, and I do it very carefully. I'm smoothing out the shapes and just getting them out. Some of the shapes that I think is too sharp, adding more contrast to some shapes that I feel is not sharp enough, and just refining every single shape so I can work on the head and just get this sculpture, like get it to a finished state so I can render it out and create a really cool looking image. And the entire like reason I sculpted this guy was, of course, to show you guys how to create something like this, but also to learn more about anatomical skills and really practice that, because it's, as I said before, I think it's really fun to sculpt anatomy, but it's also really like hard. It's not as easy as you think. So it's, for me, it's very, 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 it sounds very ridiculous when, especially somebody like, I go to high school, so people in my high school say that they know anatomy like 100% and they completely understand it. And I wonder, how can you ever understand anatomy 100%? It's, you can be, there are so many different poses and muscle change and all of this stuff. It's too much for one person to learn. Yes, you can understand most of it, but it's gonna take years to understand and become really great with it. So I don't understand how that works. But if they actually know as much as they say, I would be very, 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 very impressed. Because anatomy isn't easy, it's very, very hard. I'm just keep working on that smaller the muscle there. That's gonna connect to the pelvis. That was the muscle I actually had most problem with on this entire sculpture. I know it sounds ridiculous because it's like this big part of the sculpture, but that's actually what I had a worst time with, was actually that small little muscle. And just keep changing the form, trying to get the silhouette to look more interesting. I'm always trying to get into a more like artistic flow in the sculpture. I know it sounds really strange to say something like that, but I always try to really like think about the flow of this sculpture, flow of the shapes and the forms. I know it ain't easy, but when you do something like that, it's gonna look really, really cool. I just hitting the over everything except the legs basically here. I think it's soon time to like create claws and all this kind of cool stuff. That's so like pretty easy to create, but it makes such a big difference. Yeah, I want to focus on those muscles here on the leg, upper leg, because I had a lot of problem with that. I really like defining where those muscle goes. Because if you just merge the shapes too much together, it looks like, if you don't know what you're doing, don't merge them too much together, because that usually shows pretty clearly that you haven't done your research and taken references and that. And as I said before, references is so important and key to create really good and great looking art. Yeah, but I think the legs is starting to look a lot better right now. The muscle is starting to get in place. It's starting to get there. It's still a lot of work left on this guy, but, well, a lot, it's like, what can I do left, like 1-2 hours left, something on this guy, then he's done. Yeah, and I'm creating I created a playlist with this character, so I think at least the playlist is visible for you guys. Ain't really sure, so if somebody could tell me the answer, I would be really glad that you helped me out. Yeah, you see, I'm trying. I started to see that I want to like change the entire back, so I think it's very soon that I'm just gonna smooth the entire back, just kind of like erase it, because I didn't like the back at all, and I want to change it. So yeah, now I'm just looking at the back and trying to really like see what's wrong. Oh, I think I'm actually gonna move. Now I'm gonna move the arm so it's leaning towards the knee. You see, as I said before in the beginning that I wanted to do. But now when I have the muscles all put in there, it's really easy to do. And it looks a lot better. Because otherwise you get this all like, very easily at least, this like weird geometry between the arm and the leg, and it doesn't look good. Make it clean and really clean so you know what you want to do with your sculpt. I am just gonna make it a little bit better transition between the leg and arm. Because when the elbow is going towards the leg is gonna get some of its like muscles pushed down. You see on this arm here, pushed down. So that's what I'm adding right here, and it makes it look more realistic. It looks really weird if you didn't have the arm on top of it, but when you compose all of this stuff together, it's gonna look more real and really cool. You see I'm just adding the arm there. Yeah, but I think it's starting to look pretty good out actually now. The anatomy is starting to get in place. The overall shapes are definitely getting to a point where I feel pretty confident about them, at least as a starting point for some like really big sculpture. But you could pretty quickly get this to more like a final stage from here. So everything is blocked in. Now it's more about adding those details that you want, you know. Yeah, but I think only there is one episode left now, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and like and share this video. If you want more content like this, please just let me know so we can, that's pretty much what I had to say. Have a nice one and goodbye.